All right. We ready to go?
Ready as we'll ever be, eh?
Yeah, go live.
Right. All right. All right. We've got Kathryn Glowinski here with us today. Welcome back to Birdseye, and welcome, Kathryn, for coming for the first time here. We're going back and forth on what you're. I was going to introduce
It's team
you with
lead.
your title,
It's team
but
lead.
yeah, team lead
It is.
integrations. Yeah.
Yes, I believe that is correct. Though this is confusing because it's not actually the integrations team, it's the integrations dev team.
Okay.
Different.
Thank you for clarifying. We needed that.
I learned this only yesterday, so
You know, day
There
at
are
a
a few of
time.
those. Yeah, there are a few of those kicking around.
We learned
Just
it
learning
today.
every day. Learning
Yep.
every day. That's it.
Constant
That's the theme of
improvement.
the podcast: continuous learning, growth, and development. Right.
excellent.
That's why we're
Perfect
here.
segue, Brett.
Yeah.
Good job.
Sneaky. Brett's done.
High five. I'm done.
Did you, was that high-fiving yourself? Is that what just happened there?
I thought he was just
Self-high-five.
clapping, but yeah.
Self high five.
That's awesome.
You need some of those throughout the day, you know?
Oh, jeez. All right. Well, team lead integrations,
Dev.
different from the integrations team, dev. Thank you, Brett. We already told you what we're really here to talk about, which is what you suck at. But before we get there, for folks that don't know you, can you give us a quick little intro on who you are and what you do here?
Let me answer the second one first, which is that I still don't know. I'm working it out. Day at a time. Is that what we decided?
Yeah.
So I came to Perch by way of Indigo most recently, which you guys, might be familiar with. But I am here to work on the integrations or integrations dev work, which is how do we make it so that the seller onboarding process is easier? Amazon has all of this data and we are using almost none of it. So we hand a sheet to someone and say, go fill out every single product you own for all of the data. That should be automated. There's a way to make this easier. We have the technology. We just need to build this process so that it's pretty seamless once we want to sign a new seller, how we bring them on, and how we can check the data that they're giving us.
All right.
You got your
Hypothetically, that's what I do.
You got your pitch down, by the way. Also, I just wanted to point out before we jump in, Kathyrn is part of our ever-growing Austin, Texas hub. So if Brett and I can do our jobs, Brett and I can do our jobs, we'll be talking more about that as we go. Yeah.
We'll give you a minute for a pitch at the end if you want. All right.
We jumping in?
Let's jump in. Let's do it.
Do this.
Yeah.
Who's gonna
What do
take it?
you suck at?
Oh, we're just going for it. All right. So the thing that I suck the most at is memory. Basically, broadly, like remembering anything from day to day is like awful. Like my brain is just Swiss cheese. And I can't tell if this is like, you're just so overwhelmed by all of the things in your life, which is like the nice version of this, or like you just suck at like remembering things. This is who you are as a person. But I suck at being able to remember things constantly.
Wasn't
Brett's like
expecting
losing his mind over there.
You relate?
I relate heavily. And the easiest examples are names, like in person, meeting someone, shaking hands, like introductions first time, 5 minutes later, I'm like,
Oh, right away.
oh no.
Oh yeah. It's like you're introduced to them and you're like, you said something. What did you say? Who knows? It could have been anything.
I act like I know everybody anyway, so it fixes that problem. What do you do? Okay, so I could imagine this is a problem in various aspects of life.
Yeah.
So what?
Yeah, you know what? When you work in a career where like the important thing for me is like, hey, all of these language structures that you should have like rattling around in your brain, you need to know them off the top of your head and like act like a professional who knows them off the top of your head. And you know what doesn't inspire confidence is when you have to be like, hey, I have to Google this term that I for sure should know as a decade-long programmer of this thing. So like being able to remember that level of things is a little bit rough.
So what do you do?
Google.
Yeah, the answer is
Always have
just
Google.
Be comfortable sucking at things, like thing one. But no, like there's a very real part of, so thing one is there's a very real part of programming, which is I don't need to know the information off the top of my head. It would be nice. I would appear super competent if I did, but like you need to be comfortable finding that information. This could be like this probably happens to you guys all the time. You tell people you work in technology and they're like, oh, can you fix my printer? And you're like, I mean, probably, but not because it's my job, because like I'm good at fixing my printer. It's because you have these skills to like find the information constantly. And like that is, I tell my people I'm a professional Googler. Like I am. I know how to locate the information quickly that applies to my job the most. So like thing one is be comfortable that I'm gonna suck remembering it, but be like very, very good at finding the information. But like thing two is just take notes everywhere. And like we should perhaps have a discussion about like how do you guys take notes, because I still suck at that. Like I do a lot of it and I still suck at it. But I do take extensive notes, usually in hard copy.
This is like, this is hitting home so much right now. I think it was last week, Justin, was it, that I was talking to you and I was like, that was a funny 2-hour training we were in because people were asking me these questions and I don't really know the answer to any of them, but I've just been sitting here Googling and like figuring out how to do it and trying to teach people how to figure out how to find a solution when they don't know the answer. And it's exactly what you said, which is that I probably don't know the answer 99% of the time, but I just like you get comfortable finding a way to find the answer.
The older I get, the more sure I am that just everyone is faking it. Like we're all just either finding the information on the fly or like we just happen to know this thing from that one time that we like did a relatable thing and like then we can vomit up that story, as opposed to like I used to think people were just experts. They just like knew all of this information constantly and they just like were able to tell you about their like magnificent stories. No, everyone is just like they know this tiny little amount and they know how to figure out everything else.
See, that I like to call that a professional problem solver, right? Like you're scoring high on the problem solving competency there, right? Like there's a problem. How am I going to solve this, right? Bam. Which, if you continually go back to the same well that right?
Hypothetically, you get better at the problem solving. But like, I mean, there's like an aspect of this that is problem solving, but there's an aspect of this that is just like, when you were a kid and your parents would like walk into a room and they'd be like, why am I here? And you're like, wow, old people, like, why do they do this? No, I do that. Like I constantly, like I have taken something from point A to point B in my house and I like walk in and I have no idea why I'm here or what I'm doing. Like that's just my life now. Or I'll have like a conversation with my mom on the phone and I'll like ask her a question and by the end of it, both of us have forgotten what the question was. Like both of us forgotten like why we're even having this discussion in the first place. You're like 3 degrees down solving a totally different problem.
So it's hereditary.
Oh yeah, for sure. This is not my fault, is all I'm saying. But I mean, my mother very much had this issue. She also took copious notes. There's like a pegboard in our kitchen, which is just like scraps of paper, like push pinned into things with like Wi-Fi passwords and like who needs to go where and a huge calendar. Like I got very comfortable with, you're going to have to work around your like problems here because you're just never going to remember anything. So I have an amazing color-coded Google Calendar that reminds me of everything I need to do. I take a lot of physical notes and a lot of like Confluence document notes, especially now that I'm like starting at a new role at Perch. I've just been like documenting everything. It may be good, it may be bad, but I've had a lot of people find these documents as they're starting to onboard, because we're onboarding like 15 people a week or something. Find these documents, be like, oh, hey, this is super helpful. Like you recorded this thing. Yeah, good job, guys.
And high five, Brett.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So like, if you do that kind of recording, it's helpful to other people as well. So
we were literally just having this conversation before we started recording. You're sort of going to be the lead on the documentation here as well, right? Not to throw you way out under the bus.
Kind of what I'm realizing, which is like not comfortable. Like
this is perfect. This is exactly what you suck at, and we're putting you in charge of it. I love it.
It's been really interesting because in my interview, I like identified a number of things that I feel like very passionate about. So this is like PR templates because I don't always remember what I'm supposed to put in my PRs to like help people out with this documentation. So I care deeply about that. I care deeply about documentation. And I basically got here and my boss, Matt, was like, hey, these are your problem now. Can you just like take those and run with them? And so now it is like my problem.
Yeah, he's probably sitting there in the interview like, perfect. She loves this stuff and we don't have it.
This is really why I was hired. If Matt was
plus
like,
one for
thank
hire.
God. Great.
Awesome.
So I'm going to take this off my plate.
I love it.
I remember
Nice.
those days when I was younger, when we had the wall phone with the cord. There was a pen and pad right next to the fridge, right there.
Yeah.
Everything written on it. Same thing. But like, yeah, I mean,
Well, I don't know if you've had this experience as well, is that like now I have a preference for physical note taking, which is like
Mhm.
really problematic in a space where I then need to share my notes. So this is the part where like I would love to hear your tips and tricks, because I have been using like an app on my iPad to like try to take physical notes, but I at least get the sensation of writing. But then there aren't a lot of good programs for like translation of I wrote something into like, can I just stick it in Confluence? You can buy like whole separate, there are like tablets that are made to do this, but like there aren't a lot of good programs to do it for you. And so what I've actually been struggling with a lot is like, I took really good notes on something. I want to show everyone my really good notes on something without having to like retype them all, which is less than ideal. So
I have I
you guys
have
are
that
gonna be useless
problem.
to me.
I have
God
no
damn it.
solution.
Yeah, we need to stay.
I'm gonna
we need to
Google
keep
it right
talking
now.
about this, because I know there are certain tablets or types of notebooks and things like that, and I haven't tried them, but I've been really curious. I think for me, something about writing it, it's like that helps with the memory as well.
Yeah,
for
a
sure.
lot.
Yeah.
And not that like my scribbles are worth anything. Like they
No.
look like absolute chicken scratch. Like I'm a doctor or something who have like written this out. But like the act of doing it, yeah, it definitely helps remember it.
Right.
This is
I
a
think
constant struggle too. I'm just like, I'm remembering where we used to sit in the cubby together. Everybody had different notebooks, and we'd have notebooks and sticky notes and document like.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the problem now
though,
is streamlining it, because you end up sitting here at night. Like I now have 3 pages of notes. I know I need to get into half of them have to go into Confluence, and now I've got to take.
Yeah.
Right. The problem is you can't share
Now
it
you
with
just spend
people,
time.
but also you can't search it. That's the issue.
So there are programs out there that advertise we will let you search your own notes. So the one that I use is Notability, I think is the app that I have on my iPad, which is like you can search your own notes. What you can't do is say like this entire note that I took, translate it into like an online typed document effectively.
Digital form.
You can say like, here, I'm sorry.
That's a digital form.
Digital. That's remembering things is what I suck at.
It's hard.
Yeah. So you can't transform the whole thing. You can transform like a subset of the page, but I very rarely want to take like a single set of notes. I want to take the whole note, and that is actually hard to find. I have a friend who has, I don't remember, but the like physical thing, and it's just made to take notes.
Do they like it?
Notability, maybe? Note something. But it's like all it does is it's literally a tablet whose main function is to like translate analog to digital effectively. But it's expensive. And I haven't yet justified, like, are you bad enough at this to justify the cost of purchasing a device purely for note taking? Like, not there
Once
yet.
you make that justification, let me know how it goes.
You can't just make me into your guinea pig.
I mean,
look. You can also justify this cost.
We'll see if we can get a sponsorship and get a few
right. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Or we hold off and we spin something up.
Ooh.
And put it out
and
there.
And then get acquired by Perch.
I mean,
just got a new job. I don't want to have to build a whole other company. No.
It's a side project.
All right, Kathryn's out. She's out.
Uh-oh.
Sorry.
Then there were 3.
And Brett's in charge of hiring for Kathryn's team. So I don't think you're going to have much time for that one.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
My Austin hub of 1 over here.
Great segue.
Yeah.
So
why should people there come work with you?
Let's talk Austin.
Do you remember?
Yeah, let's talk Austin. Yeah. Go ahead, Brett.
Do you want me to tell you why Austin? Oh, yeah. All right.
What do you want me to say? It's Austin. What's there not to love about it?
I was hoping you were
calling all Austin engineers. Let's go.
I wanted to hear Brett's pitch for Kathryn's team there, but Kathryn can give it, I guess.
So there's a couple things going into this. One is like Austin is a delightful city. The food is great. The coffee is great. The culture is East Coast, but in Texas, which has been kind of awesome. It is super warm here, but there are some amazing like water opportunities, and you can like float a river anytime you want. Also, my team is doing incredibly cool things to really help onboard the sellers who we're going to be bringing into the Amazon platform. And I think we're going to make a huge difference just in terms of like ramp time in how quickly we can onboard these sellers. If we can get this working, I think we can take a process that has, goes on for a month down to like days, which would just be like a huge like time save for all of the teams that have to work there. So I think it would be like a really, really good ramp for Perch to be able to onboard like huge waves of sellers. So it's
and
cool stuff.
Kathryn has a
cool
beautiful
place.
apartment too. So the office space is what you see in the video. Oh, there you go. Huge house.
Ooh.
So there's plenty of rooms for lots of engineers to hang out.
Did not say that. Said none of that.
I feel like maybe we need a road trip, we can document office tour.
Honestly, I think the biggest selling point for Perch being willing to do an Austin hub was me being like barbecue and float trips.
Don't give that away.
Good offsite.
Yeah, well, I mean, team
Are
bonding.
we invited?
Really how we're absolutely. We have to bond. It'd be great.
I was 100%. This is why I really, really wanted Kathryn to join, just to have an excuse to go to Austin.
We owe her a t-shirt, by the way.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
Probably owe you some of the new swag we have coming too.
That's what I said.
Literally any swag.
Yeah.
Well, she's gonna be mad if we
t-shirt.
wear a t-shirt and we end up with hats and mugs and whatever else you're ordering.
Okay, we'll talk. We'll be in touch.
I just want something with a bird on it. That's all I'm looking for here.
You don't want a unicorn?
Literally anything. I don't feel it's properly representative of the reason that I joined Perch, which is really just for the logo.
Would it be
honestly.
sneaky or ironic if you got like a fake bird and put it on your plant, like it was just kind of perching there, or like on your windowsill, like just in the corner of your video? So then when you showed up on an interview, like how many people would notice and make a comment that like, oh, you've got a little bird on your Perch interview? Yeah.
I have a lot of little animal things.
It's like a dragon. I see a dragon, I think.
No, I'm just saying, like, if you
dragon
had
going on,
a bird,
rhino. I don't have a bird.
but I'm saying maybe you need one.
Send me a bird.
Yeah, we need some brand loyalty over there.
Caroline's gonna go
only
off
been here for 3 weeks.
Guys, I tried to reel it one back.
have-
It was really funny in my head, and then yeah.
I would just imagine you telling me that you spent 3 hours last night figuring out how we could get a bird and ship it out to Kathryn.
Please don't send me a bird. I do have a truly absurd amount of bird art, like pre-Perch. I just have I have a truly absurd amount of art. I have a lot of artist friends, and so I just like collect a lot of their works, but like it's also a thing that's like near and dear to my heart. So of my like 40 or 50 pieces of art that I have, I would say fully half of them are plants and animals. And of that, like probably 12 to 15 are birds, which like I didn't realize until I tabulated all of my art at some point. But it's gotten like a little ridiculous.
So team bonding exercise, we have to do an art project with everybody. We'll paint birds, then we can ship them to Kathryn and we'll have them posted on the wall.
A bird room. Yes.
Tell you what, have a bird.
That'd be pretty overwhelming. Oh,
bird.
Little bird.
My little owl here.
I mean, done.
Wow.
Just in case you're worried that I wasn't properly representing things.
oh, thank God.
Put it on your shoulder.
That looks class.
We're good now. Yeah. No, but hey, if Justin and I can do our job right, we're gonna help you build this Austin hub and increase some be a velocity multiplier for Perch to acquire faster. Right? Check out those big words.
You got it, Brett.
Barbecue. Yeah.
Did you use all of your big words in that sentence?
I did.
Is that everything?
I wrote them down. I Googled them.
You remembered them.
Good job, bud.
Appreciate it.
No, I think Austin is a really great opportunity for Perch to hit like a new and emerging, I'll say, technology market. Austin is starting to see a lot of, this is like part anecdotal, but Austin is starting to see a lot of migration like from San Francisco area, especially with, them getting so expensive. Austin really over the last like year or two has really become kind of the new destination for a lot of those like Silicon Valley people as like a slightly lower cost area. As a result, it is no longer such a slightly lower cost area, but it does now have a lot of people who are kind of in the tech scene or who are like, ex Facebook and Google and that kind of thing. They're building a Tesla office down here. There's a huge Apple campus. Like, it's starting to become a new hub of technology. So hypothetically, it could be a really cool market for Perch to try to get a lot of people out of, that I think has a lot of options for engineers.
So go to Austin.
Period. Yeah.
How's that for a fucking soundbite?
Love it. Done. Ship it.
We're gonna have job links in the show notes.
Yeah. Thank you, Kathryn. Thank you. This
nailed it.
Yeah. No, thank you. It's been great.
No, well,
of course.
Until next time, when we figure out a way to properly dictate written form to digital, you can keep plugging
I'll
away
let you know what I find out.
Done. Caroline needs it. So
I
awesome.
do.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Kathryn.
everybody.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Of course.
All right.